Hi guys, welcome to the Devine Witch. So, I'm finally doing What to Know About Hekate Part 2. Now, during this video, I'm going to let you know beforehand, this is my own personal research, my own personal opinions, my own personal thoughts. Always make sure to do your own research. I'm just here to guide you and lead you with what I know and share it. If you have any questions, comments, please direct them to thedivinewitch@gmail.com. Alright guys, without further ado, let's dive in. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Divine Witch. So the first one is the Orphic Hymns. Orphic Hymns is another one, because that's got your Hellenistic stories and all that fun stuff. So those are a few of the reading materials that I would suggest. Now I do got other things in this book that I've written down for you guys as well, if I can get to that page. So let's see, we went over that. Another thing is she also has animals such as the owls, lions, snakes, frogs, polecats, that stuff that we talked about before, along with the black dogs that were sacrificed to her back in the old days as well. And then she was also seen, so there's two different versions that I've seen of this, that she was actually considered a virgin goddess, and then there's the one where she actually has two kids. So let's see if I wrote down their names. I don't think I did. But I do remember reading, so it's kind of like in between. So it depends on which one you want to believe as far as that goes. Now, her colors are black, red, and white. So you can use them. Me personally, I also take it too. So like if I'm using her ocean or her sea, control, because she does have control over the sea as well. I will use blue to associate with that, but I'll also use like a black candle in there as well. So, I mean, it just depends on you. Now, her metal is silver. Crystals, we got sapphire, ruby, obsidian, moonstone, bloodstones are also associated with her as well. Trying to make sure that I'm giving you guys stuff that, you can actually use if you're looking for more information on her as well. Some of her herbs would be wolfsbane, aconite, which is ACONITE. Garlic is one of the main things that's been used with her, so you can have garlic on your altar as well. Mandrake. Her wood is oak, so that's good. So if you want to get something made, like either a statue or a table for her, or maybe a wand that you plan to use for her in her rituals, oak would be the way to go. And then, let's see what I got else for you. I'm like a squirrel. I write so many things with her. And it's all a little bit here and there, and then I gotta kind of decipher between my chicken scratch. You guys ever do that where you're just like, man, if somebody read this stuff, they'd think I'm insane. Now, as far as symbols, we know about the torches, we know about the snakes, we've seen the crown, which honestly, I know that there was a theory that the statue that is the Statue of Liberty, they think that it might be her, but I know that there's a couple theories out there as well. Theories, children. The shield is another one that is associated with her as well. Trying to make sure that I give you guys everything in here. But now I'm just going to kind of talk from me. So, I'm going to do this portion of like answering questions and stuff, by the way. Hopefully you can make it through this video and it all makes sense. And I know it's a little bit chaotic, but, you know, so am I. So, when it comes to Hekate, and it comes to a relationship with Hekate, I know a lot of you in the past video before I turned off the comments were like, you know, she's coming to me this way, she's coming to me that way. Like, I'm just trying to put it all together. And, you know, I've heard her call my name. I've heard her, you know, I've seen her in my dreams, or I keep waking up at this time. Now, here's how I see it. If you wake up between 3 or 3, I always see that as a sign of Hekate. Because if some people will associate 3 a.m. with demonic spirits and entities, but if you're looking at it from a Hekate point of view, the 3 crossroads, the 3 sides of Hekate, and Hekate works with the spirits as well. So it makes sense if she was trying to come through during that time. I know a lot of you were like, oh, well, I've heard her call my name while watching your videos and stuff, or confirmation, or I cry, or stuff like that. That's acknowledgement. That's basically, like, I'm not saying I'm like the all-seer of Hekate, because I'm not. I don't play that. Like, we each have our own experience. But to me, I would see that as a sign. If you're watching my video or someone else's and you get this overwhelming emotion, then that's a sign like, hey, you're connecting within your soul to what's being said. And you should take that as what it is. Now, some people, you will ask also, do I have to be devoted? Will she get mad working with other deities? First off, you don't have to become devoted or, you know, solely working with them to any deity, because that's your free will. But if you choose to do so, that's also your free will. No one's going to be like, live by the crossroads, die by the crossroads. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like that. You can work with whoever you want. Just make sure you're doing your research. Make sure if you have an altar for that certain deity, that's the altar that you're using for that certain deity. If you have what I call the all-in-one altar, which means you switch your deity statues, it's not really dedicated to anybody, it's just for your practice, then you can do that as well. Now, in my room, I've got one for Hekate. Occasionally, I'll put, you know, some other deities around her that she's been associated with or she's worked with on that altar, because it's huge. My husband, he works with Athena. So she's like right on the next wall. So she's right there, but she's not right there. You know what I mean? Now, as far as, let's see, I said, talking about getting mad and working with other deities. Do you have to be devoted? I'm trying to think what else there is. You know, when it comes to magic and it comes to your perception of it, there will always be things that differ between you and the person or people that you meet. It's not all going to be the same. You're going to see similarities, but it doesn't mean it's going to be exactly point blank, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And that's what I try to explain to people. Excuse me. Like, I'm not going to tell you this is what you have to do, and if you don't do it this way, or if you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you, go pay for this class to figure it out. Which, by the way, I do have something that's coming out about that and how exactly it is. And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to give it a little bit before we continue down that road. But, you know, and there's a lot of people who are fearful of Hekate because they know, like, once you make a promise to her, stick with it. Because if you don't, you're going to pay for it. Regardless. And that's with any deity that you work with or spirit or whatever. Like, if they give you what you want and you don't give them what they want, that's kind of like being a dick. And we don't like being dicks on this channel. So, you know, just make sure that if there's something that you want and you get it, you need to make sure that you're paying the price or giving an offering. It's like, you know, when you ask a friend to help you. You're not just going to be like, well, thanks for the help. Bye, bitch. No, you're going to be like, okay, you need me? I'm here for you. Let's figure it out. You know what I mean? And it's the same kind of basis for it. Now, another thing that you can put on her altar as well is you can consecrate some Olive oil for her for protections. You can use olive oil when you're doing oils for her because one, it's skin safe for most people, and two, it follows within the Greek pantheon if you're going more of a Hellenistic sort of view. So it's something that you can use for your tools. It's something that you can use for yourself. Something that you can use for your oils. It's pretty much a blessing as well. You can cook with it and bring blessings into your life. Like, it's a whole thing. So it's up to you on how you want to do it, and if you want to do it. That's you and your practice. Now, I know some people will ask, well, should I put different colorants or stuff in it? That's up to you as well. As far as dyes, I wouldn't do dyes. If you're going to do like any kind of like, I wouldn't do dyes if it's going to go on skin or if it's going to go on a blade. That's just my personal preference. Now, if you're going to use it for something frivolous, then yeah. But I would use mica because mica is skin safe and it's something that can be rubbed off. Mica is actually what's in makeup. And as you know, as a female, it always comes off most of the time. So, by the way, for anybody who's curious, this is called the Color Workshop eyeshadow. That's what I was using. It's not bougie. It's cheap as shit. I think it came with like a Christmas packet or some shit. But, you know, it's just one of those things that no matter where you are in your life, no matter where you're coming from, no matter your knowledge of experience, if you're looking for someone who's calling to you, or you feel like they're calling to you, or maybe you just have a friend and you're wanting to know more, there's nothing wrong with that. You're never bound unless you bind yourself to that deity or entity to work with them. You know, I always tell people that when you're working or wanting to work with a deity and you feel like they're right, then do a year and kind of a day thing. And the reason I say a year and a day thing, for me, that gives you enough time to learn the good, the bad, the in-between. It gives you, you know, did it work better this month? Did it work better that month? Like, to kind of see back and forth if it's a relationship that you want to keep going with. And by that final day, you can go through everything and assess it. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But that's always been my personal philosophy. Like, that's how I was before I even started working with Hades. Is, you know, taking the experience, what I seen, what I felt, what I thought, and putting it all in. Now, some of you are like, well, what do I need for a hekate altar? I did go over it some. Like, I personally do keys. I've got a couple statues. I have different representations for different sides of her as well. I have different altar cloths for those sides, and it kind of goes within the will of the year, you know what I mean? But when it comes to you setting up your altar, you don't have to have a bunch of shit. You really fucking don't. As long as you have the things that you can use and it makes sense for you and the space that you're in, you don't need a bunch of crap. You really don't. Now, if you want to keep on getting things slowly and eventually you build it to something a little bit bigger than what you got now, that's perfectly fine. Because my understanding is this. You know, the tools are just kind of extras. You know what I mean? Like, the magic and the ability to transform and to bring what you want is within you. It's just those tools give you the ability to have a focus point. So that's kind of like my thing with you guys, to kind of like give you a little extra. Now, I have people say, well, have you ever seen all three of her sides? Normally when I've seen Hekate, I've seen her in her young form, her middle-aged form, and her old form, but they were never at the same time. Every time she's ever come to me, it's been through either dreams or through vision. And in my personal experience, I've never seen them all three at once. I've only seen them separated in between. Doesn't mean that they are not, no. But I also see it like this. The three sides of Hekate, like the maiden, the mother, and the crone, I see as our stages of our lives. Because, you know, we're young, then eventually we get to that middle age part where we start having babies, or we start getting that mothering instinct, and then we get older, and then we get wiser, and that's when we start getting into the crone. And that's pretty much what it is. We get older, we get wiser. And it's, if you look at it, it's a transcending timeline of our lives. It's letting us know, look, you're not going to be the crone that's almighty and wise. It takes experience. You're going to learn that through your maiden years, you're going to get experience. You're going to learn that through your mothering years, you're going to get experience. Then you're going to get in between, you're going to get experience. And then you become the crone. And, you know, many people want to rush when it comes to either guides, gods, whatever it may be. But the first and foremost thing is you want to be protected. You got to protect yourself. You got to protect your mentality, spiritually, physically, because we all have heard stories, no matter what entity, God, or whatever it is, they all have their sides of good or bad, or what we perceive to be good or bad. So when you're doing anything, don't try to rush it like it's a marathon. Because your life and your magic is not a marathon. It is literally a journey of discovery, enlightenment, and joy, and terror, and sacrifice. Don't think you can just go boom and be done with it, because it doesn't work that way. I'm still learning today. There's other witches still learning today. We're still learning off of each other. Life is about learning. It's about gaining knowledge, gaining perspective, learning to change perspective, learning to take away the things that we don't like, bring in the things that we do, and manifesting and morphing, and basically it's a rebirthing process all throughout our life. You probably don't think the same way as you did 10 years ago. I know I don't. And if you do, that's fine, because that's your journey. But have you grown? Have you learned anything new? Because if you have, then you're not the same person you were 10 years ago. And you know, I've even had people, how can hekate help heal me? Like physically? Well, that depends on you. It's just like with anything. If you look at manifestation, you look at all these things. We can put the power into it, but if we're not putting in the work, it's not gonna happen. Energy is what keeps us going. Energy towards a certain goal is what helps us achieve that goal. So if you're just thinking of a deity, an entity, whatever is going to come in and go like this and everything's going to be great, no. You're going to have to work for it. Doesn't mean that it's like you got to put like 50,000 hours in and, you know, blood, sweat, and tears. But you have to at least try every day, even if it's something small, to be working towards that goal. Life is not guaranteed. These bodies are just shells. That's all they are. They are shells to contain the energy within. If you treat them right, they'll treat you right. Some things happen that nobody can explain. It's just like the placebo effect. Why does it work? It's the same thing. And you know, when it comes to magic and it comes to all that, you've got to see it like we've always seen it. We know the things that work by trial and error. That's fine. But to expect magic to fix everything without you trying to put the energy to transform, it's not going to work. It's not. And you can agree, you can disagree, you can dislike, you can hate me, but that's facts. If we don't put in the time, we don't put in the work, then how do you expect anything good to come from it? And just because your journey is going well, don't think for 1 minute that what you're doing, and if it's going good or bad or whatever it's doing, and you think you can impart wisdom on someone else when you haven't got all your shit together. And the reason I say that is because we've all had moments where, you know, we tell somebody something and then the next thing we know that we learn something else and we're like, hey, by the way, blah, blah, blah. But trying to take your journey and your process and your experience, you can tell somebody, hey, this is what I did. But trying to tell them, oh, well, this is how it is. This is the only way you can do it. Or why can't you do this? We're not all the same. Some of us are like squirrels. Some of us are really being able to focus. You got to take your time and you got to find the process that works for you. That's with anything in life. Even magic, babies. Even magic. You know, a lot of us, we want to get these different herbs from these different places. But this is another thing that she teaches. You got to use what you got around you. If you got plants outside around you, find out what them plants do. You don't need to go buying hibiscus if you're not in a climate where hibiscus grows. What plant grows around you that does the exact same thing as hibiscus? Do you get what I'm saying? Use what you got around you, because that's what we've always done as witches. No matter if you're man, female, or in between, or alien with blue polka dots. We always use the things that we got around us. That's why witches will never be truly gone. And it's one of the things that I learned when dealing with Appalachian magic. You don't have a lot of extra money. You use what you got, and you make it work. And it's like, here's a good one for you. If you're trying to look for something, take a knife, spin it around, ask where it is, and it'll point you in the direction every damn time. Those are things. Small. Everybody's got a knife or a fucking spoon somewhere. Should be able to find it. Most people got a hammer. If you don't got a hammer, pull out your fucking stiletto. Someone doing you wrong, put a nail on the ground. Ground that shit. Put it to rest. These are things that you learn along the way, my dears. Hopefully this all makes sense to you guys, and hopefully, you know, you gain some perspective, some understanding. And if you want to know anything more, if you got questions, email me at thedivinewitch@gmail.com. Until next time, guys, love, light, and always remember, no two witches